So we're going to officially get started and welcome everybody to Expert Connect. I'm Debbie Barnett, and tonight I have the privilege of introducing two remarkable individuals to the show, Bonnie Weiss and Judy Sarapica, and I love her last name, of Dragons on the Green. Their passion for the game and unwavering commitment to the Mah Jongg community have propelled them to the forefront of our beloved pastime. Tonight, we will delve into their incredible journey, learn about their contributions, and gain insights into their experiences. So without further ado, let's welcome Bonnie Weiss and Judy Sarapica to Expert Connect. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. We're really glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited. I just absolutely love your events, and I often share my experiences with other people when I attend your events. So I am excited for those that don't know anything about you guys and your events to learn more. So let's dive into the very first question. All right, here we go. Can each of you tell us a little bit about your Mah Jongg journey? Because after all, that's where it all begins.
Hi, I'm Judy. I grew up with a game. My mom played every week. And then when it was our turn at our house, out came the pineapple with the little maraschino cherries and the Sara Lee cake. And I used to hear the tiles and knew the game. And when my mom wasn't home, my friends and I would take out the set and kind of like just play around with them. But I never learned how to play officially. When my daughter was probably about 3 years old or so, 3 or 4, I was with some friends and they started talking about, well, whose house are we going into this week? It was a new group of women that I had met at the bowling alley. And they were saying, well, we're playing Mah Jongg. And my first response was, what are you, your mother? I mean, how can you're so young, why are you playing this game? And then I thought about it and I had asked them if I could come and join them one night just to see the play and get more familiar with it. And one of the women had to leave and they asked me if I wanted to fill in. And I said, well, just give me a little bit of time to just, acclimate myself. And for some reason, it's something I picked up immediately and loved and got hooked right away. Went to my first tournament 6 months later, ended up winning the mini. My friends wanted to kill me. And I've been playing ever since. And I still play with my mom when I get a chance. She's 86 and she lives on the East Coast. So,
isn't that is so beautiful, because it's such a great way for us to stay connected with our moms who have been playing forever. And I so can relate to your journey, because I had a similar situation when I was at the beach club, and one of the ladies, I used to hover over them when I was in my 20s, and one of them's just, she was my first grade teacher. She popped up off the chair and she said, sit down, you're playing this one. I was like, what? But I was literally hooked after that. So, that's great. Great to hear about that. And how about you, Bonnie?
Well, my journey hasn't been quite as long. I learned to play about 16 years ago, trying to figure out exactly when. And at our synagogue, they asked about trying to get some of the younger people involved. I guess we were in our 40s at the time.
Yeah, younger people.
Right? So the younger people. And so the sisterhood put on a class, and I use the term class oh so very loosely, because they basically brought a bunch of sets and they did teach us to play, but it wasn't any kind of formal training. And so a group of us learned to play then together. And so we started playing together Sunday nights back then. And one of the people has since moved away, but we, the rest of us have been playing on Sunday nights ever since. So tonight is actually my Mah Jongg night, but I'm here.
And you gave it up for all of us.
Yes, yes.
Honored.
Of course.
Oh, that's so great. That's, you said my journey hasn't been that long, but I mean, that's a lot of years,
Still a lot of years.
For a lot of people, yes. So,
my mom did play and my grandmother played. My mom wasn't a tournament goer, They were just really more social players.
More social.
But
Yeah,
I never did learn how to play at that
I
time.
don't ever remember my mom even mentioning the word tournaments
No.
back then at all. Okay, so I want to know a little bit more, and I think the audience would like to know a little bit more about the history and the mission of Dragons on the Green. What inspired you to form a nonprofit, and how did the organization come to focus on Mah Jongg tournaments?
And so I'm going to take this one, and Judy can chime in too. Judy and I met at a tournament. So we did not know each other. We both live in the Tampa Bay area, but we live about 45 minutes from each other. But we kept seeing each other at various tournaments and just really connected very well together. But in order to go to tournaments, there weren't too many in the Tampa Bay area. There was an occasional, synagogue one or something of that nature. It was not very frequent. So we would go often to Sarasota or some other tournaments or some of the 3 days. And so we started traveling together, and we decided that if we wanted to play more tournaments closer to home, then we should put them on. So we originally did it so we could play more. But over time, the tournaments have gotten so big that we don't have the ability to play in them. We just run them, which is, just great. And so that was about 10 years ago that we had our first tournament. And then we really wanted to focus on our mission. And the mission really was our motto of Friends, Fun, and Philanthropy. And we applied to the IRS to become a nonprofit organization. And that was a process trying to explain to them about Mah Jongg and that no, we're not gambling. This is a game of skill, but really it was more about the social aspect and using cognitive skills and getting people out, and then the donation to charity. And so our mission is to select a charity at each event. We don't get paid. All the money goes back into the nonprofit, for our expenses and for the various donations that we make to charity. And that just continues to be what we strive for. Later, we added in teaching. And so all the money from teaching, both teaching at the JCC and also privately, all goes back into the nonprofit. So It's just who we are.
Yeah, I love that. I love that about you girls. It's a wonderful way to give back and to bring our community together and be able to it's a win-win in every way possible. So great job. And
it was funny talking to the IRS because we had a full questionnaire that you have to fill out and all kinds of things with our accountant and a lawyer and all that. And then when he called me, just trying to explain what it is, because it's not like you could pull up another organization that's similar. Really, pretty much only the league is another nonprofit. But there just weren't too many out there for him to, compare it to.
Interesting.
Pretty fun.
Yeah. I did for a brief period of time look into the nonprofits, the process, I should say. And I was like, whoa, really a lot to do to get that accomplished. So glad that you did get that done. And Judy, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I'm just glad that we're able to do it. I mean, it's fun. We enjoy it. We enjoy giving back as much as we can. Just also meeting new people. So it always helps, and giving to the different charities that we do.
Nice. Very, very nice. All righty. Well, my next question is, how do your Mah Jongg tournaments differ from the other events or organizations that host similar events, and what kind of players typically participate in your tournaments? Do you cater to all skill levels, or is it just for the more advanced player?
We do. Most of our tournaments, or all of our tournaments, really are one-day tournaments. We don't do any of the 3-day. We don't do any of the overnights. A lot of our tournaments cater to first-time tournament players. for some reason, they feel very comfortable coming to our tournaments. But we have all skill levels. We have all age groups, which is really nice. We're finding that a lot of our students are turning to our tournaments as well after playing for a few months. So they feel comfortable being able to do that. We want their first tournament to be not scary. So everyone posts, oh, I'm going to my first tournament. I've been told that the people are mean and they're rude and everything. We just feel that for some reason, our tournament allows people to come in and feel comfortable. And from that, they keep coming back. And then they spread the word to some of their other friends. So the next thing you know, our tournaments sell out very quickly, which we love. And it just gives a really nice day. We just want to make it fun. And we all know it's a game, but we want everyone to know that it's a fun game.
Do you ever experience situations where you have a new player there and there's somebody at one of the tables that's not so nice and maybe not so patient? And if so, how do you handle it?
At the beginning of all the tournaments, I go through all the rules, Bonnie and I, and one of the things we say is, if you have an issue with somebody at the table, no matter who it is, please let us know. We feel that if it comes down to talking to the person directly and saying to them that there's an issue, we will. If it continues, we will not invite them back because we want it to be fun and we want people to be comfortable, and there's no bullying allowed at all. It's no tolerance.
I love that. I just can't believe how many people, when they call about an event of mine and it has the word tournament, that's the first thing they say is, oh, I've heard that they're nasty people go to tournaments. And it saddens me that that's the reputation that tournaments have gotten. And of course, I want to turn that around as well. And I won't tolerate those nasties. I want beginner players, first time play, when they're ready and feel comfortable to come to a tournament. I don't care if they've been playing 3 months or 6 months or 1 year. I want them to feel comfortable. We all started there. Sure. And why don't people remember that?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, and sometimes it's people who've been playing for a long time, have just not had the chance to experience tournaments, and we want them to come just to have a different view of the game. Make sure it's a time game, following the rules as they are supposed to be. I mean, table rules are one thing, but tournament rules are a little bit different.
Yes.
It's just having people get used to them.
Yeah, excellent. Super. And when you choose a location, are there any factors that go into your decision making for that? How do you go about that all?
It was funny because at the beginning, when we were trying to figure out where we were going to do this, we went around to like every golf club, and literally we went with tape measure in hand because we wanted to measure the square tables. Because you know how it is, you don't want them too small, you don't want them too big where you're reaching over too much. So that's what we did. We went over with tape measures. At the beginning, we did hall tables, card tables. So we keep card tables in our garages, and we had a storage unit, but now we're back to garages, and Mah Jongg sets as well. But we try to find venues that do have the tables. It's a lot of work to bring the tables over and then to bring them back.
I'll vouch for that, Bonnie.
Yes.
I'll vouch for that.
It's a lot, and you have to store them. It's just a lot. And if we have to supplement a few tables, then that's okay. We do our tournaments on Saturday because I still do work full time. And so if we had to get the tables to the venue in advance, that's just a whole other trip. And so it's a lot of work, but we've tried to find places that do have a good space. We don't like to eat lunch at our playing tables if we don't have to. So we try to find a place that has a big enough space for that. And we do serve lunch. So we want to have a decent lunch. We would go and check out the bathrooms because you always have to make sure that the bathrooms are okay.
Oh, yes.
And, making sure that the pricing is such that we can charge a reasonable price and still have prize money, still make a donation, and just have it be fair price for people to pay.
Yeah.
So we are always trying to balance that. But right now we have two main places that we go in between, which actually neither are close by to where Judy or I live. And so if we could find, something else that's a little bit more convenient. A lot of times our players, and this is how we found these two, our players either live there or can recommend it. And so it's usually their clubhouse or something of that nature. You may have noticed a little kind of play on words on dragons on the green on our names. So most of ours have been at golf clubs. And that seems to have worked, quite well for us. They're used to hosting events, a luncheon, that kind of thing. So our main places have worked so well with us, and we appreciate it. And we come in for a certain number of hours, we eat, we play, we go, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I know it's very challenging. I don't even know if people realize how challenging it is to find a venue,
Right.
to have everything work out the way you want it to. The price, the size of the room, the menu, the location, it's a lot. And whether they even allow outside people to do it, that's another factor. There's a lot of factors.
Yeah, there are, of course, a lot of hotels that have space, but a hotel ballroom could be very expensive.
Oh,
And that's why you really have to work with maybe these smaller venues that are willing to accommodate a group of this size a little bit more easily.
exactly. I agree, 100%. And so how do you ensure that the people that are coming to your events have fun and have an enjoyable experience? What are some of the things that you do to make sure that that all happens?
Well, it goes back to what I've said before, that we do announce beforehand that if nobody's going to be nice, they will be told. We know that it's a game. I mean, we all come for the competition, we all come for the winnings, but we also come for the fun. I travel. I'm able to travel a little bit more than Bonnie does, so I do a little bit more of the local tournaments myself. And we want it to just be a nice day. That's the whole idea. We send out our rules in advance so people know what to expect when they come, although we go over them at the time, going over the rules themselves. We have them come over to our tables. We have them call Bonnie or I over to the tables if there's a dispute, because we don't want people fighting at the tables. We don't want somebody saying, oh, this is how you're supposed to do it. And we've run into that on the afterwards, that somebody will come up to us and say, oh, by the way, this happened at our table. And I look at them and I'm saying, well, who gave you that ruling? Because it's not right. So
Yeah.
we encourage people to at least say, you know what, this doesn't sound correct. We'd like to have Judy or Bonnie come over and just to double check. I'm not really sure. So we want it to be fun for them as well, especially for the new players, because we want them to realize that sometimes people do make mistakes or whatever. But once they leave the table, we can't change anything. We can't change the scoring. We can't rectify it. And we don't want them to feel bad about it afterwards and say, oh, this is what happened. So we just want it to be fun. And there's always chocolate at our tournaments. It always makes it fun that way.
It just makes people happier, right?
Yes,
Makes people
yes,
happy.
yes.
And we try, and while we're doing the rules, we try to make it fun. That it's not just, oh, quiet, don't talk, this and that. We just try, we do special hands at our tournaments. We make everyone feel, we try to make everyone feel special. And I think that's kind of important. We have a lot of people who've been following us for almost 10 years. I mean, I think we have quite a few people who've been to almost every single one of our tournaments, no matter what.
Well, I have to tell you, I've been watching you girls and I'm just blown away with how you have exploded. So you have done a fantastic job and I just really commend you both.
Thank you.
Really, really. And so the next question, I'm going to ask it. And then before you answer it, I just want to show a few photos that you had sent me. So here we have a picture of Judy on the left and you, Bonnie, on the right. And the question is, as a nonprofit, how do you guys decide which charities you're going to use? Tell me a little bit about all what you do exactly and what charities. Do you have any choice charities or do you split it up?
Well, as I mentioned before, our motto is Friends, Fun, and Philanthropy. So every tournament we select a charity. These photos are from one a couple years ago. It was a charity called I Support the Girls. And it was a woman who created this and somewhere up north. And you know how when you donate clothing to homeless shelters or something of that nature, it's usually just regular clothes. And what she realized is that women in shelters or domestic violence shelters or homeless shelters, they don't have some of the feminine products that they need. So she suggested that people start donating bras and menstrual products. So at one of our tournaments, we asked people to bring items, and it could be gently used bras, there could be new bras, it could be any kind of products for menstrual cycles. And here we were sorting through.
Ah, I see those products there. I was like, are they really what
Yes.
I'm thinking?
It really is what you're thinking. And it was, we accumulated 250 bras and 600 menstrual cycle products. And we donated it to various charities. So there's Judy, sitting there just as everybody came in with bras and bags. And it was so overwhelming how generous the whole community was. And it wasn't just the gently worn bras, it was brand new items that people went out and purchased. And so then on the picture on the right is we packaged them up into 50 bras per bag and the various products.
200 tampons. Woohoo.
Yeah. Yeah.
God.
And so,
Yeah.
and then we took them to a few shelters that were local. And the program, I Support the Girls, they encourage you to donate to your local area, which is what we did. And that was really a special particular one. But generally, we choose our charities based on items that affect us and our participants and their families. So everything from breast cancer to ovarian cancer to seniors to domestic violence to animals. And one time, one of our participants, her grandson had juvenile diabetes. So she told her story about her grandson. And then our good friend, Ron Tyson, who would be a great interview, by the way. Our good friend, Ron Tyson, runs a charity called Bring Smiles to Seniors.
Oh, I'm going to add him down on my list, by the way, the list we were talking about before the show. Because I'm already booking into next year, and I think he would be a perfect guest. You're absolutely right. Okay.
And his charity brings Smiles to Seniors, where they deliver greeting cards to people who are homebound or in nursing homes and have those delivered. It could be delivered with Meals on Wheels or that kind of thing.
Nice.
And so he often tells the story about his grandmother being in a nursing home and how they started this particular charity.
Beautiful.
At our last tournament that you were at, we supported thyroid cancer.
Here we are. Here's your last tournament.
Yeah. And I had thyroid cancer 4 years ago. And the Mah Jongg community helped me through it so much. And so we donated money to thyroid cancer support at this particular tournament too. So it really is anything. And we really ask our participants, if we're doing something in Pasco County, which is north of where we are, we try to donate to a charity maybe in that particular area.
Excellent.
So I was just going to add one other thing. After Hurricane Ian, which of course devastated parts of the state of Florida, we did donate to a charity in Fort Myers that did mobile medical analysis and assistance, because we just felt that we wanted to help that particular area. So it really depends on what's going on in the community and how we can best help.
Oh, that's so super. Yeah, it's wonderful. It's such a great feeling to be able to give and help. And one of the reasons I wanted to have you on is because it just gives these types of shows, sparks an idea for others to also do more and give more to the community. And hopefully that's part of what will happen, other than the fact that now there'll be a lot of people out there wanting to run tournaments after they listen to the show.
Well, I will say, I mean, it's the people who attend our tournaments and then their
Yeah.
generosity.
Yes.
I mean, they're just so generous.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I think you might have, the next question that I had, I think you partially answered it. It's more about how do you handle the logistics of these large scale tournaments? Do you face challenges and how do you overcome them? And I think you partially talked about it already about when you were talking about the venues. So if there's anything you can add, fine. If not, I'll go on to the next question.
The venues are always, always a challenge. We try to get something that could hold at least 100 people. We try to keep our tournaments just at about 100, maybe just a little bit less. It makes it a little bit easier table wise and room wise, and giving everything else like that. But COVID was a challenge because everything closed down for that amount of time, so we had to close down ourselves. We didn't have the tournament for about a year and a half or so, and when we did, it was very quick that people came and filled up with that. Our agent population that we have in our tournaments is always a factor. Somebody gets sick or whatever. We always have a waiting list, so we try to cut at a certain number and tell people we'll put you on a waiting list. Most of the time, we can get somebody in. This last tournament that you attended, we literally sold out in a day and a half. I mean, we sent out the email on Wednesday, and by Friday we were selling out, sold out. And at that point, we had over 100 attendees and over 25 on our waiting list, which made Bonnie and I very happy, but very sad at the same time because we knew we couldn't accommodate everybody. So those are the kind of things, or like last minute cancellations. Do we have somebody that we can call right in the morning? As Bonnie mentioned earlier, we do not play in the tournaments anymore. But should it come down to having a three-person table compared to a full, we will fill in at that point if need be. But we try not to. And usually our community is very good about last-minute phone calls and saying, "Listen, if you can't make it for the for the morning session, can you come in for the afternoon or whatever?" And they usually do. The things that are also sort of challenging are pricing. We have pricing on our venues. We have pricing on the food. Food, I think, out of everything that we've been doing lately, is the number one increase that we've seen. We also have a PO box that prices have gone up on. We try to keep things even so we can still give out equal prizes. Money prizes that we like to do because that's what everybody likes. So we try to stay as close to our budget as we possibly can, and being able to accommodate everybody at that point as well. So we want it to be fair because we give everybody a lunch. We usually give a continental breakfast. And again, there's chocolate. So
oh, we gotta have chocolate.
the chocolate comes to play in there as well. So that's about it. I think that covers it, Bonnie. Do you think there's anything else, or?
I think you got it.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, my next question is, I want to know about any future plans for Dragons on the Green, any changes with tournaments, teaching? Are you going to be expanding at all? Do tell.
Well, for this year, we have 2 more tournaments, one in September 9th, and November 25th, which is Thanksgiving weekend, which is good for some and not good for others. Sometimes it's like, okay, I had enough of my family, I can come to the tournament now. Or people are that, they had left to go out of town. But, one of the challenges, like Judy said, is getting the availability on the rooms for the places. So we have to do it between our schedule and theirs. So we'll have those tournaments this year, and then we're starting to look at our calendars for next year and see what is available. We really are seeing on the teaching side, where we're seeing some younger people who are interested in learning. We did a group of, I'd say, early 30s, a fairly large group. There was 24 of them, and they were all, they were called the Moms of South Tampa, and they were so much fun, and they were so eager. They learned a little bit differently, so we did have to adjust our curriculum a bit.
Interesting.
With it, we did notice that a 32-year-old does learn a little bit differently than a 62-year-old, and we adjust accordingly. We have our main basic criteria in our curriculum that we teach, but we have adapted. We're also seeing more men. In our last class that Judy and I just finished, they just graduated last week. Of 12, there were 3 men.
Nice.
And so
Isn't
that was
cool?
really nice. Yeah. And they were a whole lot of fun. So it's really great to see the enthusiasm and the interest in Mah Jongg. We teach at our local JCC and we teach privately. And a lot of that has just been word of mouth on the private side, or they'll Google it and, hopefully they'll find Dragons on the Green and find us. So really just continuing with the tournaments. We'd like to get to a point where we're doing one every other month. It always seems like one of us is going somewhere, or we're ourselves going to a tournament, and we can't always get it done. But trying to plan that out.
You have to have some fun time for yourselves too.
Right.
Yeah. And, I think it's amazing about how the Mah Jongg community has literally exploded. I mean, Judy, you and I go back pretty far. I've been playing since I'm in my mid-20s, as far as seeing the trends and how it's been changing throughout the years. I mean, I was an anomaly when I was learning to play as a young girl, and then I dragged all my friends into the game and had to teach them how to play. But normally you didn't play. It was an old Jewish ladies game.
Right.
And you never even thought about playing it until after you were up in that middle age category, not when you were in your 20s or even in your 30s at that time. But the way it's going toward the younger crowd and men.
And young men. I found that when I'm going to some of the 3-day tournaments, you're finding men in their 20s and 30s, and they play a very different type of game. They play a much more strategic type of game. It's just different to watch between men and women playing. And sometimes I become intimidated by having a man come sit at my table, especially a young one, because I never know what they're thinking. But it's always fun to have different points of view of people that you're playing with. So
yeah, I wonder if it was at your tournament or one of Fern's tournament. I was at a table. I just can remember the tournament. I think it was a destination tournament, and there was a young kid there. I mean, I really felt old sitting at that table with him, and I was thinking, he's probably not a great player. Man,
right.
He was into it, and he knew what he was doing, and I was really impressed.
I think I was at that tournament also. I think he came with his mom.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, he was young. I mean, he was early 20, like early 20s.
He was young.
Held his own. Yes, he did.
Yeah, and then a couple of weeks ago, I was at one of the recreation centers here in the Villages, and there was a mom, a dad, and a kid who I had to ask. I think he was 12 years old, and they were playing 3. And man, I mean, I was keeping an eye and watching what he was doing. He was playing like he'd been playing for years.
Right.
Fun. A lot of fun. That it's really, I know. Oh my goodness, how are we going to fit all these people into our events, ladies?
Well, one thing that we did do this year, I guess in April, we did a tournament for novice players.
Yeah.
Because there were still people, even though we feel that our tournaments are very welcoming, it was still a little scary. And so it was a tournament for people. Maybe they've been playing Mah Jongg for a long time, but they've been hesitant to play in a tournament, or it really was their first tournament, or maybe since COVID, they just hadn't played very much in a while. And so we did do that, a novice tournament. We structured it a little bit differently, but I think it gave people an opportunity to ease into the tournament structure.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea because I did one myself, but mine was, I don't know how many people you had at yours. I had kept it to, I think, 16 for mine. And I mean, oh my goodness, people were so responsive. Yes, yes, yes. You know, let me do this. I want to learn how to play in a tournament. So
I believe we had 16 tables, but we also had 3 tables of social play. So trying to incorporate that in some of our venues, if there's room to have people come and just experience the tournament without being in the tournament. So
very nice.
They see how the rules are played. They get to see all the beautiful different Mah Jongg sets that we have that people bring to play with. It just gives them an opportunity to say, okay, you know what? I think I can keep up with this. Maybe not this time, but the next time I'll come. And we have a couple of people, I believe, coming to this tournament that are transferring from social to tournament play.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I guess my next question kind of segues perfectly. So for those people and players that are watching that are interested in participating in your tournaments, what advice or tips would you give them to make the most of the experience? And I guess even if they weren't in your tournaments, if they're not local, it would pertain to anybody.
First of all, see about practicing tournament rules at home. In your social game, incorporate the tournament rules. Make sure that when you pick your tile, you know, when you pick up a discard, you put it on top of your rack, not in your rack. Play time games. Make sure you can play 4 games in an hour. You know,
that's probably the biggest. Isn't that one of the biggest things?
5 minutes, because people get really concerned about that. You know, sit and they dilly dally and dawdle, and you don't want them to do that. But you don't want them speeding up that they're not sure of what they're going to be able to play. Because we do this, and I know you do, and so do so many of the other tournament directors. Read the rules. You know, when the emails get sent out, make sure you're familiar with the rules. Make sure you're familiar with the scoring. Some places do it a little bit differently, but on the whole, the scoring schedule is pretty consistent throughout the country or whatever. I mean, I know there's a couple of different rules in some of the others, but on the whole, most of the rules are the same. Register early if you can. If you know that if you're thinking about going, especially for hours, we tell people when that email comes out, make that decision right then and there. Because as I said, in our last tournament, we sold out so quickly, we didn't even have a chance to blink. I mean, it just was amazing. And we had to turn so many people away, which we don't like doing. And I have a feeling we're going to be in that same situation again. But it is what it is. If we could get bigger venues that would accommodate us, we would think about that. But right now, 100 is a lot to take in. But mostly go and have fun. Play your regular game, play your social game. Don't think of it as a tournament. Just think of it as a day of play with new people and making new friends and connections. I mean, it's one of the reasons, like I said, Bonnie and I said, we met at a couple of tournaments and then really hooked up as far as being friends. We have known each other for a really long time now, well over probably close to 13 years or so, and it's great. I mean, we have friends from all over the country that we look forward to seeing. We do the tournaments, we do the cruises, because if you're not in the area where people live, you don't get a chance to see them. So you get a chance to see them when you're traveling. And not only do you get to travel, you get to meet and be with friends from all over. So, you know,
I was just going to add, you know, our Mah Jongg friends have become our friends outside. You know, we would not have met but for Mah Jongg. And we travel all over the country. We're going on the river cruise next year, just, you know, with friends that we wouldn't have known but for Mah Jongg. And it is just such a wonderful community. And we try to support other, like you and other tournaments that we go to, because it is just one big community. And we think that we should all be supporting each other.
Oh, and I totally agree with you 100% when it comes to that. It does sadden me at times that there are some people that don't feel that way. But I just think it's so important that everybody supports one another, because there's plenty of Mah Jongg to go around. All right. Not one person can have and capture every single thing. We all have things that are unique to our own businesses and what we offer. So why not embrace and support everybody and help? And I mean, I honestly, I have a couple of more questions, but I'll take this moment to just mention this because it seems to be a great time. And I also want to say that I have several questions, both YouTube and Zoom. So everybody, thank you. We're going to open this up to Q&A in just a little bit, maybe another 5 minutes or so. And then I'll address your questions and to Bonnie and Judy. But when you talk about support and everything, we met at the first Mah Jongg. I never knew you guys before that at all. And there was an instant connection. Okay. What forms that connection with people? It's the warmth, that how you greet somebody, how you talk to them. You wanted to volunteer and help from the get-go. Again, we never knew each other, but you wanted to help out. You wanted to support us in some way and give back, even financially. I mean, it just is amazing how kind and caring and giving you girls are, and you continue to support me. And I'm sure that anybody who's listening that knows of the two of you will 100% agree with me. And so from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you. And I also want to let everybody who's watching know that Bonnie and Judy will be at MajCon again this year in October. And they're going to be running the mock tournament, which is a trial run tournament for those that want to try it out at one of the work sessions. And they're also going to be running the tournament on Friday. And I'm just so excited that you're going to be back and that you're there. I feel like, you're almost like my comfy blankets. That's how I feel sometimes. I really do. And so again, I just thank you so much. So if anybody is thinking about trying out MajCon, it's a fun few days of a lot of different activities. You could check it out on majcon.com. In the show notes are always the ticketing links and more information that you can find there about the event. So please consider joining us and getting to meet these two lovely ladies. Okay, so let's get on to the next question. Is there anything else? Is there anything else that you would like the community to know about Dragons on the Green and the work you do? You might have already included it all, but anything else?
I believe we've covered a lot of it. We do it because we love it. I mean, we wouldn't, and we just have fun doing it at the same time and meeting people like you, which we love and appreciate. And thank you for the kind words. We also have a lot of things going on in our lives. As Bonnie mentioned, she still works full time. I am lucky enough to have retired. So Mah Jongg is a good part of my weekly chores, I should say.
Jealous.
A bit more, and I get to do a little bit more of local tournaments than Bonnie does. But it's just special. It's just fun. And, you get to meet a group of people, and if you're traveling someplace, and when I go onto a ship, if I'm not with one of my Mah Jongg friends, I look to see if there's a game going on, or and you can always, even if you don't get into it, you can talk to the people about it because they're
exactly.
Or when we're on the ship, who stops by our tables to see what we're doing, and we've had people come in and join us on the ships that need a game or somebody, and it's just fun. So we want to continue doing the charity work that we are, and we're blessed to be able to do so and to be able to give back as much as we can and just have fun doing it at the same time.
Yeah, we have a busy October coming up because we'll be, as you mentioned, at MajCon, and then we're going to the Mah Jongg World Championship in Vegas.
Wow.
And
yeah.
So we're super excited about both of those events.
That's so great. That's so great. And if somebody wants to get involved or support your organization's mission and upcoming events, what's the best way for them to contact you? And I can make sure that that information is also in the show notes after.
That'd be great. So they can go on our website,
Mhm.
and it's www.dragonsonthegreen.org, and they could email us at dotgmahjongg with 2 G's at gmail.com. And on the website, they can sign up for our newsletter, and then they'll be getting notification of all of our tournaments and events. The website is maintained by my son, and his price is right.
Aha, little plug for the sun there. Okay.
So it's, it works fine. It's not super robust, but it gets the job done. And but they, anyone could email us. And of course, we are, like we said, a nonprofit organization. So if anyone did make a donation, we would send them a donation receipt, that kind of thing.
Oh, excellent. Super. Well, I think we could open up now to Q&A. Let me go ahead and first address Carol on YouTube. She said, your tournaments are huge. Now, you might have answered the question already, but if you did, you can just touch on it a little bit. How do you handle moving guests from table to table without mass confusion?
Okay.
Great question.
Really
Yeah.
good. Okay. Bonnie and I have developed, Bonnie more than I have, has a spreadsheet ranging from 23 to 30 tables. When everyone comes in, they get a packet which has their score sheets, and they have their table movement on there. So they know exactly where they're going to go after each 4-game round. So there's no confusion. There's, it's very specific to whichever table they need to move to. And we very rarely have any problems with that.
We have it, like Judy said, I have an Excel spreadsheet, and our A players or our East players stay in their spot because they're bringing their sets and they stay at their spots. Some do it a little bit differently. And then, so we do A, B, C, D. If you're a B player, then you go up 1 table. If you're a C player, you go down 1 table. And if you're a D player, you go up 2 tables. And so that way we have this situation where people are moving all about. So they just play 4 games together, and the tournament's big enough that nobody repeats playing with each other in a separate round. But it is orchestrated in that regard. But Judy has it all on their paperwork when they arrive already. So it's all done for them.
Yeah, I wanted to ask if you plan it so that husbands and wives don't end up playing together, if you can. Do you do that? You do, right?
Well,
so I used to do it more so, like really look forward and had to make that happen. Worked out really well because you and Randy were both scorekeepers. So by definition, you didn't play together. And but I've gotten to the point where I really just do it alphabetically now.
Yeah, okay. All right. Okay, and then Lisa said she came in a little bit late and she wanted to know the name of the business and where you hold your tournaments, but we did say that and cover that later on. So
the question that I wrote just recently is regarding your classes. How long do you have your classes before people graduate? Because you referred to that. That was my question. Thank you.
We did. That's a great question. We have our classes structured as 4 2-hour sessions. And we have found over the years and the hundreds of people that we've taught that 2 hours is about people's mental capacity when they're learning this game. But what we also do is we lend each student a Mah Jongg set, because we think it's important for them to go home in between. We give them little assignments that they can work on. And it really does help to have the tiles, to touch them, to feel them, to try to put hands together and to practice. At the end of the 4 weeks, they have the basic skills. We haven't gone into very much strategy. After they've played for a while, we then have a skills and strategy class that they could take, but it is structured with those 4 2-hour sessions. And we really do see, and we saw it with this group in that 4th class, it, you know, really did seem to have clicked.
Yeah,
clicked.
isn't that exciting?
Mhm.
And when people say, what do you love most about teaching? The moment that the student gets it is just
Yes.
so exciting.
And then we allow our students, and we have this to this day. Judy got a text just the other day. Once they're one of our students or one of our students forever. So if they ever have a question, people send us screenshots. Why did the computer not let me get this, you know, this hand?
Mhm.
Which hand should I go for? We're a resource forever.
Yeah, that's great. I call it the mentorship for life. Well,
Right.
at least through my lifetime. I can't speak for anybody else. Oh, that's wonderful. And then we had a question from Barbara Hoffman. Will you ever have another tournament in the Polk County area?
Yeah, so right now we're still in Pasco, and we had a wonderful venue that we loved in Lakeland. And it was always a little bit more expensive than our other places, but we made it work anyway. But after COVID, it just has become really unaffordable, and they didn't want as many people coming from the outside either because it was a private club. So we have not found another venue in Polk, but if she has an idea, we're willing to get out there with our tape measure.
All right, Diane, there you go. That would be, I'm sorry, Barbara, not Diane. That would be wonderful. That would be a great task for you to get out and maybe visit some of the country clubs and community centers. And as long as they have tables, we don't want Bonnie and Julie schlepping the tables, right?
We prefer not to, right?
prefer
Like
not
I said,
to.
if we have to do a few, we can do it, but 20 is not great.
All right, well, great. That's super. Yeah, get the community to work a little bit, especially if there's other surrounding counties, right? I mean, I don't know how far you would travel, but if somebody were to find a place and they weren't too far, would you consider it?
Oh, definitely. The places where we go now are not nearby where we are. So we're
Okay.
traveling already.
Excellent.
So
All
we're
right, so
open.
that's a great thing. The community can give back by helping find a spot for your next tournament.
Yes.
All right, add more to your busy schedule. Okay, next question. I was one of the social players at their tournament, which I think you were unique with that. So if I'm understanding the question, since Diane was a social player, were you one of the first organizations to combine tournaments and social play at your event?
I saw Diane coming online, and Diane did. She came a few times to social play, and we played with them a little bit, and then we were like, okay, next time you guys are ready. And so they've signed up for our tournaments. It was really, I think she can speak to it, a great experience to be in the environment, see what it was like, and then see that they could jump into the next.
Oh, she's got a big smile on her face. So I think,
Right.
yeah. Yeah, excellent. If you wanted to say anything, Diane, or add anything to that, you could unmute for the time if you wanted to. Uh-oh, I
I
hope
was just going to say, I'll see them I'll be at Mah Jongg.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, great. Okay,
Yes.
good.
Yeah, already registered. So not only that, I'll be at the September 9th, but I'll be at Mah Jongg too. So.
Excellent. Oh, well, that's exciting. And we're looking forward to seeing you there. Super duper. Okay, so now I think you also answered this as well. How long are your classes before graduation? I'm not sure if you said, I know you said 2 hours, but is
4.
it each 4 sessions, 2 hours each?
We do it once a week. So that way they have time to practice in between.
Okay. And do you offer any next level? This is my question. I'm just putting in there. Any next level classes for beyond beginner at this time?
We try to do the strategies and skills class.
Okay,
So that's limited basically to a 2-hour class thereafter. We haven't gotten to any additional classes after that, any lengthier periods of time. So
okay, excellent. I think that answers that question. And my husband wanted to know if the September tournament was full, and I locked in our spots, just by the way,
Yes.
because I knew as soon as that was going to go out that I had to make sure. So I did it. I pre-registered even.
You did. I am holding spots for the two of you. And it actually is already on Eventbrite, even though the email hasn't gone out. So
Yeah.
several people have already, 40 people actually have already registered on
Oh
Eventbrite.
my goodness, that is so crazy. That is great. Phyllis asked, she said, I live in in Venice. Are all of your tournaments right in Tampa? So right now you're in that area, right?
right. And the reason why we go Tampa and above is because there's so many tournaments down in the Sarasota, Venice area that we feel that it's so
There's
saturated.
nothing in Venice right now. There used to be one at the Jewish Center. I live right across the street,
Well,
and she won't do it anymore. She said, I did it 15 years, let somebody else do it.
Jean Graham runs a tournament on Mondays or Wednesdays over at the Venice Golf and Country Club.
Oh, yeah. I think
They do that once a month.
they took the summer off. I have their schedule.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the one that we do know about down there. And then there's the ones that are in Sarasota, as far as Diane Curtin and Doris and Joyce run one. One is at Stony Brook Golf Club, Golf Country Club, and then there's one at Palm Air. But I don't know how far.
I've been to the one at Palm Air. Yeah.
So if anybody is in other areas on the west coast of Florida, they can email you and you could connect them with any of the tournament that you know of. So it
Yes.
looks like you've got a lot of information on other tournaments in the west coast area.
Okay.
Sorry,
Thank
Michelle.
you.
Mhm.
All right, good question. All right, let's just see if there's any more. I think that might wrap it up, and hopefully I didn't miss anybody. If I missed anything, please go ahead and type it again in chat. Carol on YouTube had just made a comment. It wasn't really a question, but I think it was during the time maybe you had mentioned the pandemic and all, and how she had mentioned how during that time it attracted so many players to playing online. And I mean, I could talk about that topic forever, because it's great because it gave people the opportunity to learn and play Mahjong, but you also don't learn any of the skills of playing in person. So that presents a challenge. So you almost need like some type of training to go from playing online to playing in person. And because of that, they don't know some of the pick and rack and the normal things that we know and do, they don't do, or they forget to name the tiles because the computer's naming the tiles, or they're like, wait a minute, how come my tiles aren't sorting themselves? Little things that are,
Right.
I mean, it's crazy stuff, but it's true. It's been a challenge coming off of that and then learning to play in person for many.
Yes, I would agree. It's funny because the computer does your right, it does your cross. It sends the 3 tiles.
That's
where they
another
need to
thing,
go.
right? Yeah.
Although I do play
Also-
still some online because I don't get to play as much during the day. And so I play at night. So if anyone plays on Mah Jongg Time, which is where I play, I'm Glow Girl, if anyone's out there. So that's my
That's
name
great.
is Glow Girl. Yeah.
Glow Girl. Okay, cool.
Mhm.
Yeah. Judy, did you have something to say?
Just going to say that I think the biggest challenge with the computer was the breaking of the wall, because they don't break the wall. So we were getting people who were coming in and were like, well, what do you mean you're rolling the dice and you're breaking the wall? So that sort of, once they do it 1 or 2 times, they get it. but it's reiterating to them that this is part of the game. You know, it's not just, you don't just arbitrarily just take your tiles.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
true. I mean, when you were talking about the Charleston, just recently someone said, well, I want to come to MajCon, but I'm a little intimidated because I haven't played a lot in person and I still get really mixed up with the Charleston, which way to go. And that's
Mhm.
because she's only played online.
Yeah, that's where Darren Barness's little wheel of Charleston is a
Right,
great
Charleston
tool,
says-
which we use with our students,
Yes.
where we
yes.
met Darren at MoshCon.
Yes,
Here.
yes, and
Mhm.
yeah, I have those and I sell those to
Mhm.
my students as well, because I do
Mhm.
think they're great little tools, yes. Yeah, I agree with that. All right, well, I think that is it. No more questions have come in, and so we're gonna call it a wrap. And I just want to thank you girls again for joining me tonight. It was a pleasure having both of you, and I hope we could do a repeat of this in the future. And everybody who has been watching from Zoom or YouTube, thank you for joining us tonight. The video will be available after I get it edited and uploaded to YouTube, so you could rewatch it, share it with your friends. And again, thank you everybody for joining in. And I'm going to say good night, and I'll see you girls in September. Oh, it sounds like a song. See
Yes,
you.
thank
We can
you.
start- well, I'm sure we could all sing the words to that song. All right. Good night, everybody.
night.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.